That one, it's got a crack in the spindle.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Alright?
Yep, that's fine.
So apart from that, the rest of it comes to...
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the free trading game collection challenge, the series where we look to build a video game collection like this one for absolutely nothing. How do we do that? Well, we go out and we buy video game related items, whether it be the games themselves, the consoles, the accessories, anything we can find that's video game related. We flip part of it on to make the money back, so we've effectively spent nothing. If we have anything left over, we can put it into the collection, or we can take it into CEX, which is a video game store here in the UK, and we can trade it in, get a voucher, and pick up the games that we actually want to put on the shelf. Now, with that being said, in today's video, we are going to have a purge of the collection. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to be quite harsh as well, and I'm going to pick out the things and the games and the consoles even that I really am not that attached to. Maybe some of them I am a little bit attached to, but I'm going to convince myself to part with them. Why? I am going to a video game store that I don't often go to because it's about an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours away from my house. So we're going to go there and we're going to trade in a lot of stuff. Why there and not just to CEX, which is 2 minutes down the road? Well, this store give better, or the equivalent at least, prices as CEX do. And they have a bigger selection of retro stuff. So I'm talking Mega Drive, N64, and maybe it's not as retro as some of you would like, but things like Wii U. They have a very good collection, or selection I should say, of those type of things. But not only that, GameCube, they have a pretty big GameCube section, and we don't actually have a GameCube console. I have a Wii that plays GameCube games, so maybe we could get by with that, but I've always really wanted a GameCube. And I've always wanted a boxed GameCube, because if you're going to do it, you better do it right. So in this video, we are going to purge the collection. The purge is underway. I have taken a lot off the shelves. I don't know if you can tell, but you'll be able to tell in a second when I go through it all. Let's go through the, I would say not most unimportant, but these two Xbox One games, I only have two that I'm getting rid of. They are Destiny 2 and Battlefield 4. They came in a mystery box. I kept them because CEX give next to nothing, but they're on the shelf for no reason. Like, I'm never going to play either of those games. There are a couple of Battlefield games I wouldn't mind picking up. Battlefield 4 is not one of them, and I never intend on playing this, so I might as well just give them into this game store. If I get anything for them, happy days. If not, then so be it. I have a boot sale pickup to show you that I probably should have just chucked it in the other video when I picked up the loose Wii. So the footage of the Wii is on screen for you now. I picked up a Wii with the controller and everything, and it was £10. It was a really good deal. They trade in for about 23, 24 into this game store. I don't know whether I'm going to take it in just yet, and I'll tell you why in a bit. But I also picked up, in that very same boot sale, Need for Speed Payback on the PlayStation 4 for £2. Big fan of that price, not the game. That trades in for 10. So I was always going to pick that up. Disc is in very good condition. I have no desire to keep it. It's going to be traded in. We also have some PlayStation 2 games to trade in. So you know about these. Van Helsing and RC Revenge Pro. Those are the ones I didn't deem worthy of trading in. I was going to bundle with a PlayStation 2 in the future if I ever get one. I'm just going to trade them in, very much like the Xbox stuff. We're just going to get it gone. Whatever we get, we get. These two games, these next two, I picked up ages ago, and I don't even know if you remember, because I barely remember myself. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And we have Burnout 2 Point of Impact, which is a platinum game. We don't have it on the collection. We have Burnout 1 and Burnout 3. I do need this, but I don't want it platinum, so it's going. I picked them in a boot sale. Picked them up in a boot sale months ago. It would have been like episode 3 or 4. They would have been like 50 pence each, if that. So they are all going. That's, so far at least, it's at least 10 to 15 for everything that you've seen. Then I have a big bundle of Wii related items. I have Carnival Funfair games. I don't know if they're going to take this. Wii Fit without the board. Probably not, but I'll just give it to them. Big Family Games. Cooking Mama 2. We have Top Spin 3. Lego Star Wars 3. And of course Rock Band. All of those came with the Wii, which is here. Now, CEX didn't take this, despite the fact that there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I felt like one of the employees had a grudge against me for some reason. I used to work with him. I worked with him for about 5 or 6 years, and I don't think we very rarely had a crossword, but for some reason, I think he had a word in the ear of the person who was serving me and told him not to take the console for whatever reason, because there's nothing wrong with this, and yet they gave me some nonsense excuse that there was corrosion in the battery compartment, which there isn't. So that will go into this new store. I say new, they've been there for years, but it's new to me. I think they give me about 33 for that. I think I'm hoping for at least 5 for the games. So that's about 38. We already have at least 10, so we're looking at 48. That's rounded up with about £50. So these next few items, I'm not sure whether I'm going to trade them or not. It depends on the price that I get given. So I was asked to go through my father-in-law's shed a little while ago, and I obviously made a video about it. And I found a lot of stuff, but in there were these Game Boy games and also a Game Boy Pocket. Now the Game Boy Pocket didn't work, it didn't power on, but it still sold for about £30. These games do work, I've tested them. It's The Mummy, we've got Madden 2000, we've got Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, we have Pokemon Yellow, and finally we have, I think it's Super Mario Land. It is indeed Super Mario Land. It's a bit chewed, but you know, it works. I don't know whether they're going to go or not, to be honest. Like I said, I'm going to see if like how much I get for them. My wife has a say in this as well, because they are. She claims that they're hers. I'm not convinced, but we'll see. We'll see what they give. They may or may not go in. Pokemon Yellow by itself is £20, and I think that is about 10. And that is 5 or 10 as well. So we have a lot of money there. We've about £30-40 worth of games there. But I'm not sure what's going to happen yet, so we'll put them on the back burner. But just know that I'm taking them and we're going to find out. Then, NFL Extreme. That, I can't remember where that came from. I really can't. Again, I think it might have come out of the Shed of Dreams. But I've been trying to sell it for a while. It's worth about £10, but I'll take a few quid for it just to get it out of the way. Then I've gone to purge the PlayStation 2 section quite heavily, actually. So we have Unreal Tournament is going. If I'm going to get an Unreal Tournament, I want Unreal Tournament 3, I think it is, on the Xbox 360. It's the one I spent the most time on. That's the one I want. Up next, we have The Incredibles. I picked that up in a boot sale for 50p. I don't know why I picked it up. I thought maybe it would trade in for a little bit more. It trades in for about £1, so we are going to make a little bit on it, but not a lot. Up next is The Godfather. That came out of a mystery box again, so it's free, doesn't owe us anything, but if I'm ever going to play this, which I do intend to, it's going to be on the 360, so I don't really want the PlayStation 2 version. And then we have Killzone, which again, I mean, it's a staple of a PlayStation 2 collection, I'm sure, but it just doesn't really do it for me. I never really played it much, and I'm not really that bothered, so it's going to go. And then I have 3 games I actually would like to keep, but I want them on the Xbox 360, and that is Need for Speed Carbon, Most Wanted, and Pro Street. Now, Pro Street I couldn't care less about. I really don't like that game. Those 2, though, they are bangers, but not on these consoles. I want them on 360. So they are going to go. I'd rather just collect what I want rather than just settling. I don't want to settle for things, and that's where the next lot come in. Last episode, we picked this up. Mission Impossible. £2. It trades in for about the same, I think. I don't want to settle. And I was thinking about it, and I've mulled it over. And I've decided that's not the only N64 game that's going. So we've got Mission Impossible. We've got Star Wars, Shadow of the Empire. Why is that going? Let me just get through them and I'll tell you. So that's going as well. We've got Lilac Wars. That's also going. We have Turok 2, which is also going. And I can't believe I'm doing this. And I may change my mind, but unlikely. Doom 64 is also going. Why are you getting rid of this? I bought this from CEX. I think it cost me 12 or 15. It trades in for 10. May get a little bit more from this store because they match or beat CEX. It's a different day. I do apologise, the lighting and everything is completely different, but the end of that recording just corrupted for some reason. So, just to give you a brief rundown, the N64 stuff is being traded because I've decided that if I'm going to collect anything N64 related, it is going to be in box. Now that doesn't mean that I'm going to try and have a complete full set of PAL, or I'm going to go after some of the most expensive games. There are only a handful of games on the N64 that I really, really want, and that is obviously GoldenEye, things like Banjo-Kazooie. There are a couple of FIFAs, believe it or not, that I really want because I used to play them a lot. I'm not the kind of person who's going to neglect sports games. If I see a sports game that I used to play or I really want to play, I'm more than happy to pick it up. But anyway, I'm not going to go for loose games. If there is a game that I see that is really expensive and it's loose, I'm not going to not pick it up. And if I see N64 games in the wild and they are without boxes, I am still going to pick them up. But to keep them in the collection, they're going to have to be very, very special for me to want to do that without boxes. Doom 64 is a game that even in box isn't that expensive, so I'm more than happy to let that go. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get to the point where we get the trade value for all this stuff in insane games.
On that, the rest of it comes to 119.50 exchange.
Fantastic.
And that's without that.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Alright?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you caught that. He said we get £119.50 in credit. That is set to go up though, because I had a Need for Speed Payback that I showed you, of course. That had a little bit of a scratch in it. He managed to get the scratch out. He charged me, I think, 50 pence or a pound or something for the clean, which means the total trade value is £127. What he didn't take is a bunch of things that I'll show you later on, but £127 to spend in this store is insane. The other thing that I want to highlight very quickly is this.
That one has got a bit of a bad scratch. I don't mind, I can give it a repair for you. If it comes out, I have to take it in. If it doesn't, I'll recharge you for repair. That one and that one, both with a scratch, but because we only sell them for £1, it's not worth repairing.
Yeah, no worries.
And that one and that one, unfortunately, were too scratched.
Any game he couldn't take, he would tell me exactly the reason why he couldn't take it. Whether it had the wrong rating on it, whether it was too badly scratched, or there was something wrong with the case, etc. They weren't too picky, which I was really grateful for, but the thing you just don't get with other game stores, and I'm looking at CEX more than anyone else, they'll just throw the game back at you and just grunt something. This guy was thorough. So we have £127 to spend in this store. It would have been easy to spend that 10 times over. Now, you might be thinking £127 doesn't sound like a lot for everything I took in. I didn't take in certain things, and I'll go through that when we go back into the game room and we'll go through what we managed to pick up and what we spent the money on. I spent everything down to the last 50 pence. Not in this store, and I'll talk about that in a second as well, but I went in with a GameCube in mind. We've talked about it. I wanted a boxed GameCube. Unfortunately, they didn't have one, so I couldn't get one. They didn't have anything retro console-wise, because I probably would have done like maybe a Sega Saturn or maybe a GameCube. I doubt it, but maybe a Dreamcast. I might have been persuaded. I looked at a 3DS as well. I say I looked at one. I thought about asking about 3DSs, but in the end I decided against it, and I thought I'd just get some games in here. So they had a fairly decent selection of Wii U. It could have been better, but there were some Zelda games here that I really considered. Their Mega Drive selection was nice. They had a lot of Xbox 360, PS4, Xbox One, PS3 and stuff. I didn't look at any of the PS3. I didn't even glance at it, and I really should have, but I didn't. But they had a nice selection here. But I only spent £56, I think it was. I was told at the counter, but you're not going to believe this because I couldn't. I nearly fell over. There was a subscriber at the counter. He just, out of nowhere, at the end of the conversation with the guy, the employee, he said, "Is this all from the free trading game collection challenge?" And I was like, "What? You watch my videos?" I just couldn't believe it. So I apologise to you if you're watching, because that's never happened to me before. I was followed around once by a kid in a shopping centre for 20 minutes, and he didn't say a word. But apart from that, that's one of the only ever subscriber experiences I've ever had. So I didn't really know what to say. But we had a decent conversation in the end. He started doing like a £10 game collection, and he has a crazy collection from it. In fact, he got a PS5 from it, which is essentially free. I love it. It's fantastic. So anyway, the whole point of that was they told me about another insane game store that was about 15 minutes down the road, and apparently they had a bigger selection. So you know I had to drive down there to have a look at what they had. This selection of games was just that little bit better than the store we were just in, and they had a smaller store, which I couldn't quite understand. But they had more consoles, they had retro consoles, you saw Sega Saturn there. Their selection of PS4 games was just that little bit bigger. They had double, if not triple, the Switch selection. They didn't have as many Wii U games and things, but that's okay. They had a lot of games that I forgot to take footage of it because I didn't see it till the end. They had a cabinet facing the counter that had a lot of out-of-box Mega Drive games, but they also had some boxed N64 games in there as well. Nothing that really took my fancy, but what a selection of games in that store. Back in the game room, and we're going to go through everything that we picked up, everything that they didn't take, and what they gave us, not for everything, but just a little snippet here or there. Without any further ado, Die Hard Trilogy, Cracking the Spindle. That's fine, makes sense. It still works, it just won't work over time, and you wouldn't want to buy it like that. Toy Story 2 is absolutely trashed, so no surprise there, that's fine. I'm never going to get rid of this. NFL Extreme on the PlayStation 1 is a rental copy, but it does sell for between 5 and 10 on eBay, so I'm not too disheartened by it. Skylanders Imaginators needs the portal and the figures if they're going to take it, but again, it sells for about £10 on eBay, so that's okay. Destinies 2 is a free-to-play game now, so they don't take it. It's interesting because Fortnite is also a free-to-play game, but that sells for about £75 to £100. So it is interesting that some free-to-play games, they, not just them, but people in general won't stock, even though other people do like the physical copy of things. But, it is what it is. Van Helsing is too badly scratched, apparently, as is Harry Potter Goblet of Fire, and this is frustrating, Need for Speed Most Wanted. They took Carbon and they took Pro Street, but they wouldn't take Need for Speed Most Wanted. The reason that's frustrating is because I'm now stuck with a random Need for Speed game. I suppose what I can do is pick up Underground and Underground 2, and we have Most Wanted, and that's the way that it went in order, and we could just keep those on the PS2 and then go into the Xbox 360. We have to double up on the Xbox 360 of that one, though, unfortunately. Now, speaking of unfortunately, this next one is unfortunate. They didn't take Mario Smash Football on the GameCube. Now, why is that unfortunate? Well, I think he said he only would have given about £8 to £10 anyway because it was unboxed, which is fine, I get it. But the thing that I'm annoyed about is I didn't ask him to clean it. The reason he didn't take it, by the way, is because it was too badly scratched. I have tried it and it does work, but like I said before, it's fine that stores don't want to take things because they're too badly scratched. In this case anyway, because it actually is too badly scratched. If you bought it like that, you would be a little bit annoyed. But I should have asked him to clean it so that I could have sold it a bit easier myself. But the thing that I loved about that store was the fact that he was willing to take things that were scratched because he knew he could clean them. CEX can do that, but they refuse to. They don't even entertain the idea. I hate CEX in many ways. And that is one of, they're so picky with their trades, and that is why I really find them frustrating. This guy was so accommodating, it was class. The receipt, we have the box Wii went in for 33. That PS2, I didn't even try and take it in. I decided against it in the end. If they do price match CEX for it, we'll get about £77, £78, which is class. I held off on this occasion, and I'm glad I did. It may go in next time, it may not. We also have an unboxed Wii that I didn't take in. We got that in a boot sale a couple of weeks ago for a tenner. I've kept it for now. It's over there in a container. It's safe. But I'm thinking maybe we take that and the PS2 in together next time we go, and that should give us over £100 in credit again, which will be fantastic. Some of the other games they took. Godfather went in for £1.50. They took Cookie Mama 2 in for like £3 on the Wii, and a few other random games like the Wii games that we had that we actually bought with that boxed Wii. They traded them in for like £1.50, £1.50, £1. They were just sat there doing nothing. So I'm really happy that they've gone somewhere. There's a few other games as well, like all those PS1 games. We have 2 Spyro. Spyro Year of the Dragon went in for £4 and £4.50. It says £8.50 for both of those. Why the same game went in for 50p difference? I think they were both platinum, but I might be wrong in saying that. I'm not sure. Spyro the Dragon 2 went in for £4.50. Tomb Raider 2, with 2 of those, they went in for £2 each, which is a little bit disappointing, but it's fine. Theme Park World went in for £1.50. Doom on the N64 went in for £10, and then just a retro item, it says here, £5. I don't know what that was. I can't remember what that was. Must have been an N64 game. And then Need for Speed Payback. That would have been rejected point blank by CEX. They wouldn't have taken it. The scratch would have put them off completely. This guy said, I will clean it. If it doesn't come out, I won't charge you for the clean. If it does come out, I'll charge you for the clean, but I'll trade the game in. And it still went in for 50 pence less than what CEX give. So the fact that he cleaned it, was willing to accommodate me because it had a scratch, and still took it, was fantastic. CEX would have just thrown it in my face and it wouldn't have even given me a reason why they wouldn't take it. Honestly, I cannot recommend the Insane Game stores enough. I think there are 3 of them. One in Street, one in Wells, and there's one somewhere else that I forget. I'll put it on screen for you. Awesome, awesome stores. What did we pick up then? £127 in credit. I have a nice selection of games, and I have something else as well. So while Resident Evil is playing in the background, I'm going to show you the first game. It is going to be Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Do people call it Resident Evil 7 or is it just Resident Evil Biohazard? I'm not sure. That was £7.50. You'll see a lot of these games are something 50, and it's because they undercut CEX in this one. They don't undercut them in all of them, but because there's a CEX in the area, they obviously undercut it. So £7.50 for that. Haven't played it yet, looking forward to it, and that will go in my Resident Evil collection. I am looking to collect all of the remakes and the newer Resident Evil games on PS4, and then all of the originals, or close to, as we've had a discussion in the comments, will go on the GameCube, and then anything in between that pops up on other consoles we'll pick up there. Resident Evil 2 on the N64, probably not going to happen. That's an expensive game. Next up, Wii U. Looked at this a couple of weeks ago, I actually showed you as well. Donkey Kong Country. That's a difficult thing to say without saying a very bad word. Tropical Freeze. That is available on the Switch as well. It costs $9.50 on the Wii U. I think it's about $35 to $37 on the Switch. More than happy to pick that up on the Wii U, where God intended it to be played. Up next, we have a sports title. I'm not too disheartened about picking up sports titles. Some of them I have a lot of time for, like some of the older ones, like FIFA 96 for example on the Mega Drive is going to be something I want to pick up. I don't shy away from sports titles. I do like to play them, believe it or not, and this is one of them. I haven't played it, but I'm looking forward to it. WWE 2K20. This was £7.50, which on the Xbox was about £10 or $9.50. So the fact that the PlayStation at the moment is my go-to console, even though at heart I am kind of Xbox, very happy to save a couple of pound on that. And obviously the difference between PS4 and Xbox One stuff is negligible. So I'm very happy to pick that up. I will get the new one eventually, but I'm happy to go back and play the older ones of the wrestling games. I don't need it there and then. With FIFA, I need the new one the day it comes out, more often than not. But with games like that, like golf and things, I like playing them, but I'm happy to go back a few generations and pick up the older ones. Next up, going to go to another sports title, but this time we're going to go back a few generations. Mega Drive. Premier Manager. This was £4. The price has been taken off this, unfortunately. It is complete with the manual, if you really care for me to show you. There it is. I haven't actually played this more than, say, 5 minutes worth. When I tested a Mega Drive back in the day in GameStation, I popped that in for a couple of seconds and it seemed okay. I love Premier Manager, Football Manager games, Championship Manager, you name it, I've played it generally. But 98 was the first one I really got into. Premier Manager 98, I lived on that game. I'm looking forward to going back and seeing how bad or good that is. Can't wait to go back and try that out. Then another game that I showed you 2 weeks ago as well that I actually forgot existed until I saw it, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, how could you forget that game existed? It is Fatal Fury on the Mega Drive. It would have been so easy for me to spend the entire credit on Mega Drive games, by the way, because between both of the stores that I went to, they had enough selection that I could have spent about £200. But I limited it to, well, I'll show you in a second. But yeah, Fatal Fury is a banging game. Big fan of it. I don't really mind that it doesn't have a manual, because unfortunately a lot of the Mega Drive games in both stores didn't have manuals, but it's okay. I'm not gonna hold that against it. Maybe I can pick up a cheap manual at some point. I have to have a look to see if anyone's actually selling that. And then we move on to my favourite 4. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the games we've picked up so far, but these games are my favourite ones that I've picked up from that day. So we're gonna stick with the theme of Mega Drive, and we're gonna go for Primal Rage. That is a lot cheaper than I thought it would be. No manual, unfortunately, as you can see, but it was £8. Big fan of that game, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have picked it up. I've been looking for that one for quite a while, actually. I nearly bought it unboxed maybe a month ago, and then I decided that I'm not going to cave, and I am going to wait until we can pick up all games boxed. But yeah, £8, very happy to add that one. And we might as well talk about our final Mega Drive game. This is, honestly, I spent so much time on this. This is a sports title, but it's a sports title with a twist. I am talking about arch rivals. Now, I'm not a basketball fan really, but that is a game where fouling is encouraged. You can literally just walk up to people and punch them, take the ball, and go get a basket. I'm a big fan of this game, and it's so cheap. £6. No manual again, unfortunately. The case is a little bit worse for wear, but the artwork on the game itself is good. And it's just going to be fun to be able to pop that in for 20 minutes every now and again and just smash some people in the face. Big fan of it. Big fan. Then two games that I've had my eye on for a long time. One of which, and I'm going to show you that one first, one of which I have nearly bought about 5 times in this series. And I pick it up every time I go into CEX, I pick it up. We are talking PlayStation 5 Hitman 3. That game started off as about £35. It dropped. It went as low as 22, and then it went back up again. It says 26 there. We didn't pay 26 because when I went to the counter, he was already behind the counter. He scanned it. I say he scanned it. They actually, because this one in particular, the one in Street, price matches CEX, they don't scan games to my knowledge. They literally just look them up on the CEX website, knock off or add, depending on what they need to do, and that's how much they charge. So Hitman 3 was actually £24 in the end, not 26, because they dropped it in CEX. But yeah, really excited to get into that. I've watched a lot of videos. Modest Pelican in particular makes this game look like one of the best ever. Doesn't have a manual, but I don't think it ever did, so that's fine. Yeah, chuffed to finally put that into the collection. And believe it or not, that is the second PlayStation 5 game. We only have 2 in the collection. I really do need to pick up some more. But with the thing with PlayStation 5 games is that they are obviously going to drop in price. It's still really difficult to get these consoles, let alone the games. So walking in and paying full price for a PS5 game that I don't want day one, I don't need it, so I'm more than happy to wait for them to come down. Now, speaking of paying full price for games, this isn't too far off what full price is. This game is a Switch game. I really wanted to buy more Switch games, and unfortunately, between the both of the Insane Games stores, they only really had about 3 that I wanted. One of which was House of the Dead. I think that's what it was called. It was on the Wii, and of course, before that, it was on other consoles, obviously, but House of the Living Dead? House of the Dead? Can't remember. 1 and 2. Anyway, I wanted that, and I thought about it for a while, and I decided against it. There were a couple of Pokemon games I could have picked up, but I really wanted some Mario games on the Switch, and they didn't really have any. They had the one with the Rabbids that I'm just not that bothered by. I will pick it up eventually, but it's not one that I need right now. I went for, staying on theme with the GameCube game that they didn't take, Mario Strikers Battle League Football, and it's not in there because I've been playing it. I also have I didn't realise until I actually went to pay, but I've got a 50p credit note left. I would honestly, I would have just used it on something. I would have just bought a game and used cash to sort of bump it up a little bit. Just didn't really add it up before I took it to the counter. So we spent £126.50 in total, but I'm really happy to add that. That was 36. That one, I'm not sure whether that was... I mean, that might have been cheaper than CEX, I don't know. The one in Wells, which incidentally is where Hot Fuzz was filmed. Peg. Walking around there was a bit surreal. I just expected to see Simon Pegg running out with a gun at any point. But yeah, that store doesn't have a CEX near it, so they don't price match, which is interesting. And the one thing I noticed as well, and I don't know how they sort of do this, but behind the counter of the Wells store, they had that boxed for £77. The one in Street, which is literally 15 minutes up the road, that would trade in for 77 because they price match CEX, so they would have to sell it for at least £10 or £20 more. Mad. The difference in like 15 minutes can make to prices. So I don't really know whether that's actually cheaper in CEX or not. I don't know. But maybe I'll look that up and maybe I've put it on screen for you. The other thing I picked up though, and the one thing it's not exciting necessarily, but it's something that I've not really considered doing in this series, but I think I might, because I have two others similar to it that I'd like to incorporate, because at the moment they're out of the way and I would like to introduce them. I am talking about collectibles, and in this case I picked up a Funko Pop from Street Fighter, and it is one of my favourite characters from Street Fighter, Balrog. Very reflective. It was £6. Don't know if it's going to focus. I've looked at this for quite a while. This is from 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016. Looks about right. That's what that means. I collect Stranger Things Funkos, and I have nearly all of them. Yeah, no, I do nearly have all of them. It's like one or two really big hitters that I don't have. And I used to collect a lot of Funkos, a lot of them. I've downsized massively and only really have Masters of the Universe and Stranger Things left. I've got a couple of others that I'd like to introduce at some point. But when you can go into a store and use credit on things like this, more than happy to do so. And there's actually a dedicated Funko store and collectible store in my town that I love going in, and you know, sometimes they have stuff that I want, sometimes they don't, but everything is interesting in there. And I'd like to start maybe filming some collectible stuff and maybe start putting some shelves up where we can actually have some collectibles. For me, with video game collecting also comes things like accessories, peripherals, and things like this, little collectible trinkets almost. You can get really nice signs, you can get some really nice plushes, you can get figures, action figures and things. Now, not everything will appeal to me, but when it comes to things like this, I am actually very, very interested in things like this. So it would be really easy to incorporate a lot of collectibles into this series, but I'll never really do a full episode of me just looking up collectibles, because I know that doesn't appeal to everyone. So I'll only ever incorporate it every now and again. But what I can incorporate into the collection are these. £127 worth of video games, and that £6 Funko Pop right there going into the collection. Now I know you would have spent this completely different to the way that I've spent it, and I understand that, I really do. Not everyone will agree with the choices I've made. Not everyone would have gone and picked up Premier Manager on the Mega Drive or WWE 2K20 on the PS4, and not everyone would have spent 36 or whatever it was pound on this Switch game. Some people would have gone and bought a console, a Sega Saturn perhaps. And yes, that is something that I kind of half wish I'd done. But at the same time, I'd already spent £56 before I even got to the second Insane Games store. And I wasn't about to put everything back and go and spend it in another store, because I didn't know what they had before I got there. So now that I have a general gist of which store sort of not specialises but has a little bit more of a selection, he even said to me that I could message them before I even go there and ask to hold something back, because they post when they have things in stock. So I could maybe, if I see something, say, hey, can you hold that until blah blah blah. He said he'd be more than willing to do that for me. So maybe it's something we look to do in the future. But I am very happy with my choices, and just know that all this is free. You know, we've traded in some stuff, and we got £127 in credit. But it didn't cost us £127 to pick it up. It's already been paid off. Everything that you saw that I traded in, and everything that was already in the collection that we purged, we've recycled, because it was free anyway, into things that we actually, or rather that I actually wanted for the collection. So these now go on the shelf, and I'm very, very happy that the collection looks a little bit more in my favour. Games that now I'm looking at, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm really happy I've picked that up. And it adds to the story as well. You know, like I put the receipts of everything that I buy in the cases, so that in 10, 15, 20 years time, I can open up the case to play the game, and it'll have a little story in it as well. The receipt shows the story. So I'm very happy with the pickups. If you had £127 to spend in a game store, what would you have bought? That is my question of the day. The one thing that I really wanted, which neither store had, even though the second Insane Game store actually sold new stuff, was a Turtles game. I am a big Turtles fan, and I haven't really played many of the games outside of the original arcade machine type games. So the new Shredder's Revenge, I think it is, and the Cowabunga collection, I'd like to pick those up, but neither store had them, unfortunately. And there is still a game on the PS5 that I really want to get, and again, neither store had it, and that is Sifu. Otherwise, I would definitely have picked that up. I'm really looking forward to playing it, but maybe next time. If you have enjoyed this episode, this very long episode of the free trading game collection challenge, do me a favor and hit the like button. In the next episode, we will be spending some profit, so join me for that. And until the next time, goodbye.